People who cry easily are often told to toughen up, to stop being so sensitive, to grow thicker skin. But what if everything they've been told is wrong? Because science doesn't see easy crying as weakness. It sees it as something far more complex, far more powerful, and far more misunderstood. If you cry at movies, at songs, at someone else's pain, at beauty, at frustration, at things most people wouldn't even notice. This video is about you. Over the past few decades, researchers in emotional psychology have started paying serious attention to people who cry easily, and what they found challenges almost everything culture has taught us. Number 1, they feel the world at a deeper frequency. Most people process emotions on the surface. Something happens, they react, they move on. But people who cry easily don't work that way. They process emotionally at a depth that others simply don't reach. Psychologists call this trait high emotional reactivity. It means their nervous system picks up signals, pain, beauty, injustice, connection, with a sensitivity that most people never experience. They don't just watch someone suffer, they feel it. They don't just hear a sad song, they live inside it for a moment. This isn't weakness. This is a completely different way of being human. Number 2, their brains are actually wired differently. This isn't metaphor. This is neuroscience. Research shows that highly sensitive people have increased activity in the insula, the part of the brain responsible for self-awareness and empathy. Their mirror neurons fire more intensely, which means when they watch someone cry, their brain responds as if they themselves are crying. When they see someone in pain, their brain registers that pain personally. Crying easily isn't a choice. It's a neurological response to a nervous system that was built to feel more. Number 3, tears are not a sign of falling apart. Here's what most people don't understand about crying. Tears are not a breakdown. They are a release valve. When emotional pressure builds beyond what the body can hold, tears are the body's way of restoring balance. Research published in Emotional Neuroscience shows that crying activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the same system responsible for rest and recovery. In simple terms, crying is your body healing itself in real time. People who cry easily aren't falling apart. They are self-regulating, more effectively than most people realize. Number 4, they carry other people's pain without being asked. Have you ever noticed that people who cry easily are usually the ones others run to when things fall apart? That's not a coincidence, because their emotional sensitivity makes them naturally attuned to the pain of others. They notice the shift in someone's voice, the tired eyes behind a smile, the silence that says more than words. Psychologists describe this as empathic accuracy, the ability to correctly sense what another person is feeling. People who cry easily tend to score remarkably high in this area. They don't just sympathize, they absorb, and carrying that much of the world quietly takes its toll. Number 5, they are often the strongest people in the room. This sounds like a contradiction, but it isn't. Crying requires something most people are too afraid to do. It requires vulnerability. And vulnerability, according to researcher Brené Brown and decades of psychology behind her, is not weakness. It is the most accurate measure of courage. To feel deeply in a world that tells you not to cry openly in a culture that punishes softness, takes a kind of strength that silent people will never understand. The ones who never cry aren't always stronger. Sometimes they're just more defended. Number 6, suppressing tears causes real psychological damage. Here's what happens when people who cry easily are shamed into holding it in. They don't become stronger, they become disconnected. Research in emotional suppression shows that chronically holding back tears increases cortisol levels, the body's primary stress hormone. It raises blood pressure, it disrupts sleep, it creates emotional numbness over time. And emotional numbness isn't peace, it's damage. When someone tells you to stop crying, they're not helping you. They're asking you to hurt yourself quietly so they can feel more comfortable. Number 7, they process grief more honestly. Loss hits everyone, but not everyone lets themselves feel it. People who cry easily move through grief in a way that is actually psychologically healthier. They don't bury it, they don't perform strength, they don't pretend. They sit with the pain, they let it move through them. Grief researchers call this active mourning, and it consistently leads to better long-term emotional outcomes than suppression or avoidance. The person who cries at a funeral is not weaker than the person who doesn't. They are simply more honest about what loss actually costs. Number 8, they have a stronger connection to beauty. This one surprises people. Easy criers don't just cry at sadness, they cry at sunsets, at music that hits just right, at a stranger's unexpected kindness, at a child laughing, at a sentence in a book that says exactly what they never could. Psychologists call this aesthetic chills, or being moved by beauty, and it is directly linked to openness, depth of processing, and creative sensitivity. People who are moved to tears by beauty are experiencing one of the highest forms of human emotional response, not one of the weakest. Number 9. They are more self-aware than most. Crying easily often comes with something else. A deep, almost uncomfortable level of self-awareness. Because when you feel everything this intensely, you can't ignore yourself. You can't numb out. You can't pretend. You notice your own patterns, your own contradictions, your own unhealed places. Psychology research consistently links emotional sensitivity with higher levels of introspection and self-knowledge. And self-awareness, however uncomfortable it feels, is the foundation of genuine growth. People who cry easily often know themselves in ways that others spend entire lifetimes trying to reach. So the next time someone tells you that crying is weakness, remember what psychology actually says. It says you feel at a depth most people never reach. It says your brain is wired for empathy in ways that make the world softer for the people around you. It says your tears are not a malfunction. They are proof that you are fully alive. In a world that rewards emotional armor, choosing to feel is not weakness. It is one of the rarest forms of courage left. This video is for educational purposes only and does not replace professional psychological or medical advice.